Russia has slammed a report by the UN and a chemical weapons watchdog which blames the Syrian government for a deadly attack in April. Moscow says the report is superficial and unprofessional. The gas attack at Khan Sheikhoun in Idlib province killed at least 74 people and injured hundreds more. But Damascus vehemently denies carrying it out. RT's Jacqueline Vuga reports on the latest developments.
Opening remarks came from Mikhail Ulyanov, the head of Russia's Foreign Ministry Department of Non-Proliferation and Arms Control. And he began by saying that Russia had expected the Joint Investigative Mechanism and the fact-finding mission to conduct a highly organized and professional investigation, collecting all of the necessary evidence in order to come to a conclusion that would be irrefutable. But he said that those expectations were not met in the slightest. One of the main objections coming from Moscow was the fact that those conducting it never actually visited the site of the attack themselves. Ulyanov reiterated the fact that Russia offered to facilitate such visits to the site of the attack itself and the air base from which everyone is claiming the attack was conducted, but the opportunity was refused time and time again, with them saying that the situation on the ground was just not stable enough. Their safety could not be guaranteed. Ulyanov refuted that claim.
They categorically refused to visit Khan Sheikhoun and the Shayrat airbase. The fact-finding mission cited security concerns. Later it turned out it wasn't true. Back in October, the UN said local commanders who controlled the area guaranteed security, but the mission didn't use that opportunity. So the whole investigation was conducted remotely. This is already a scandal, an attempt to mislead the international community. It reminds me of sabotage.
Other concerns center around the fact that Russia believes the chain of custody of evidence was in fact violated. The fact-finding mission received samples from opposition groups and that those samples traveled from the site of the attack to outside of Syria, to neighboring countries. So there's no telling what happened to those samples in the meantime, and of course whether or not those samples did in fact come from the site of the attack. Moscow also pointed out that the report is filled with words and phrases such as possibly, probably, we suppose, likely, leading them to call the report itself superficial, unprofessional, and amateurish. The experts have, of course, been working on this investigation for months now of the alleged Sarin gas attack in the Idlib province, which is believed to claim the lives of over 80 civilians back in April of this year. Ulyanov concluded that Moscow does not seek in any way to undermine the investigation, but in fact the very opposite, wishes just to correct the shortcomings that Moscow sees in the investigation so far, saying again that Russia believes that any instance of chemical attacks should be investigated in the fullest in a very independent and unbiased way.
Well, Russian Defense Ministry experts also presented their findings. Its aviation specialists said Syrian Su-22 fighter jets could not have delivered the toxic weapon. That's because their flight paths recorded by the coalition did not come within range of Khan Sheikhoun. Moreover, no aerial bomb tails were discovered at the site of the attack. Well, meanwhile, the ministry's explosive experts concluded that the explosive was improvised. They argue that the shape of the crater had right angles, while craters from aerial bombs around. They also said the traces left by the explosion and the lack of fragments suggest the bomb was placed on the ground.